Yo, pull up a chair, let the real talk begin. Faith on the table where the brothers lock in. Life gets heavy, but we stand our ground. Truth in the room when the circle comes round. No mask, no front, just real man here. Talking about faith through the doubt and the fear. From the grind of the week to the lessons we share. Welcome to the men's round table, pull up a chair. Men's round table series, step inside. Real men, real faith where the truths collide. Voices at the table where the stories get shared. Welcome to the men's round table. Pull up a chair.
Welcome back to the Men's Roundtable Series Interview Spotlight. I'm your host, Mr. U. If you're watching us for the very first time, thanks again for making us part of your week. We're live on YouTube and Facebook, and of course, you can find all of our shows on our brand across all social media and podcast listening platforms. If it sounds familiar, that's because this show is a sister to our Men's Roundtable Series podcast every Thursday night, 7 p.m. Husband, fathers, brothers, and sons from around the country and even around the world now. We're jumping in talking about issues that are germane to men. So we get into it. This is just a one-on-one interview doing the same thing. Our guest today, coach and founder of The Inspirational Father, or The Inspiring Father, Tyler McAdams. Tyler, how are you, man? Good to have you here.
I'm good, brother. It's great to be on, and thanks for having me, man. I'm excited to be here.
Me too. Same here. If you guys have questions or comments for myself or our guests, drop it in the comment section of the chat where you're finding this episode. We'll try to get into them as quick as we can. But let's go ahead and jump in with the time that we have, man. So I know you're a single father. I love the perspective on that because I got a lot of people who are friends of ours that are on our Men's Roundtable panel. And of course, they come in here and do spotlights from time to time. What's the more difficult part of the single fatherhood perspective?
It's tough, man. I mean, there's a lot of different things that you got all the pressure of kind of handling both roles as the mother and the father at that time, right? And you have to really, I got 4 kids myself, and you just have to balance it all out, try to be present with them, and try to also provide, right, and protect, and all these other things. So it's definitely a juggling act, but it also comes when you have structure. It's a lot easier. A lot of when you're a single father, if you have a structured plan in place and you plan ahead and you make your life structured around your kids, which is what I've done. I make sure my flexibility of my schedule is beneficial for them. So I make the time for them. That's the key to single fatherhood in my book. And it comes with consistency, and it comes with just surrounding yourself with the right people and taking action to do so. Hard part to do, but silence kills that. Drama, all these things with your ex, there's a lot of things that try to come and attack you. But if you stay within yourself, things work out for the best. And when you have structure, that's really the key for single fatherhood, I would say.
Yeah, I had this is not exactly the same. It's a bit similar. We have my wife and I have children that have a different father, and it's not anything that I would say is I gotta say that with some tact. It's not it wasn't the most ideal situation for the girls growing. They're adults now, so it's been in the rear view for quite a while. But I watched the whole parenting swap thing happen, and there's a sound or lack of a sound that happens when the kids go into that arrangement in your house. How does a single father deal with the silence? How do you confront the silence when you know that, they're not here? You may be worried about them in the environment. You may be missing them. What are you dealing with there?
Yeah, I mean, you start overthinking, right? You start thinking of just that not putting them into bed every night. You start thinking of just all these things where, hey, are they safe? Are they secure? With my situation, obviously I trust the mothers of my children, and all that. But at the same time, it's one of those things where you have to write out, journal, write out things, get things out, get those negative thoughts out of your head. If there's silence, don't go to vices, don't go to alcohol, drugs, all these things where a lot of men tend to fall into those depths of just trying to numb it. You try to numb that pain, right? You try to numb that silence with all those things. And I've been there. I've been in that personally where you start drinking. I'm not a drinker, but I started drinking a little bit, and my daughter called me out noticing that I was doing that, and I stopped, and it's like, a lot of guys, they go to these different things to numb it, and you have to just focus on trying to stay active, move your body, get those things and write it out, read, journal, do those productive things and positive things. It's harder said than done, but it comes with consistency, accountability, and really, if you have that right support in your corner, that's the biggest thing I'd say to get rid of that silence, right? You have to fill that silence with positive action. You can't just sit there and sit on the couch and think it's going to just go away. You have to take the action to get rid of that silence.
I want to come back to a part of that a little later on, but I want to ask you something else instead. A lot of men tie their identity to being the provider. We talk about that in all of our men's content. It's just almost a weekly discussion that we have.
Yeah. Big thing.
Divorce, yeah, it is. When divorce and financial pressure and all the things that go with that kind of obliterate that idea. How do you rebuild your value? How do you help other men rebuild their value?
Well, it really just comes down to getting clarity of what you want to become, right? You have to get that clarity. You got to remember, I related to this. Your house burned down. Your foundation cracked. Your whole world that you were building, the whole life you had dreamed about, and you just thought you got complacent. You thought everything was going to work itself out, and you're going to be living till 60, 70 years old, 80 years old, whatever it is, with your partner and your family and living that life. And it just crashed and burned, and the house completely just tore down. So you have to really start by getting clarity of what you become and build that foundation. You have to establish your new foundation and understand, okay, this is who I am. This is what I want to become. This is the father I want to become. This is the man I want to become. This is the person. You have to understand who you want to be going forward as the man of the house, as the leader for your children, right? And I think a lot of men just don't know how to do that because they hold all their emotions in. They hold all their feelings inside themselves, and they don't know how to let them out. And that's the troublesome part. And being vulnerable is okay. It's not a weakness. I think we as men need to let go of our egos a little bit and realize, hey, it's okay to express our emotions, because if we don't, it's going to turn into reactions, and it's going to hurt our kids, right? It's going to hurt other people around us, rather than letting it out in a safe space in a positive way with good support system around you and good coaching, good whatever it is that you need, a good brotherhood, all these things like this is fantastic. I love what you're doing. This is amazing because you just get perspective, right? You got to get perspective from other people that you realize you're not alone in that situation.
Yeah, most definitely, man. Thank you for saying that. We'll come back to that one.
Sounds good.
Hopefully they're all good. You teach that kids don't need a perfect father. They need to have one that's kind of grounded emotionally. Mm-hmm. What does that look like to the man who's watching, listening today, who might be overwhelmed internally? They're just not saying anything out loud. What does being emotionally grounded look like for them, especially in the high situation?
Yeah, not reactive, right? Not overreacting. Not when I think a lot of overwhelmed fathers, they react to their kids. They snap real quick. They just literally they'll start reacting, and then they don't show up for their kids. They don't play with their kids. They don't give attention to their kids. They don't know how to regulate their emotions. Aren't regulated, so they have no interest. They just want to sit on the couch and watch TV and just numb it out, or drink, or do those other things that I talked about earlier, and just let the kids fend for themselves, right? And I think that's where presence is so powerful, especially as a single father. It heightens it even more, because you got to realize when you don't have your kids, okay, the fathers that are blessed to have 50-50 custody like I am, right? I know a lot of fathers out there struggle to have time with their kids. If they're fighting for the kids, I know it's a big thing too. But the guys that are rebuilding, where they are struggling, they're overwhelmed because they have 50-50 custody, but you have to understand that you have to build it when you don't have the kids. And then when you have your kids, you have to be present and be emotionally regulated in that state of mind. It comes with structure. It's not motivation. You can't use motivation, think that's going to help it. A shot of dopamine is not going to work. You have to have that daily consistent structure, daily action to keep yourself grounded and present with your kids when you do have the time with them, so that way you're fully pouring into them as much as possible. Now, I will say this and add this real quick. It doesn't stop. You still have to try to reach out to them. If they're old enough to where they have phones nowadays and all these things, you still try to stay in connection with them on a daily basis. But you really have to work on yourself when you don't have them. That's the biggest key to success on single fatherhood, I'd say.
Yeah. That's some rough sledding right there, brother. From personal experience. You love to me because I know what estrangement looks like with your kids. And you can try to reach out, but there's sometimes where, it may not be you that shuts the door, and you ain't getting through. But the work on your part, that's the part where I live in. So that way, when the time comes, I believe the prodigal son or sons or daughters in this case are going to come home. I got to be sure I'm in the right spot. So that way, I'm actually a help when they return and not a hindrance or in a place that will push them back to where they were, to even a worse stage. So I totally get that. You grew up without a father, if I understand that right. So me and you can kind of connect on that.
Well, I had a stepfather, but I wasn't as close with him. He put
okay.
He did teach me some things. Obviously, I did have a stepfather, but it was a little bit of a relationship was a little bit rocky. I was pretty scared of him as a kid because he had a temper. He was very reactive. He did all these things where I'm like, oh my gosh. But he's a good man overall, I would say. But he had a lot of challenges where he didn't have emotional regulation himself. So I learned from that, like, okay, that's not who I want to be as a father, right? I don't want to be that kind of guy if I have children myself. So, but yeah, my biological father basically pretty much left my sister and I at the age of 8, essentially, and he lives in the same state as me, man. I've never spoken to him since then.
Worse.
Don't even know. He doesn't even consider me basically his child anymore, which is just mind-boggling to me based on my story, because I can never imagine wanting to leave my kids behind. You know what I mean? Like that's the craziest part for me. And but it shaped me into the father I am today and the present father that I am today. So at the same time, as hard as it is to understand it, it's turned me into something that I've been able to create something positive for my own sake and break that cycle.
Yeah, I can relate. My situation is a little bit different.
Yeah,
but at the same time, in my older years now, I'm starting to just operate with some more wisdom rather than just like reactive, like you said.
Yeah,
and there's so many factors that we won't have time to get into on this show. Maybe on a Thursday night on the round table, we may touch it and go into detail. We sure have done that in the past, but
good, man.
there are a lot of factors that prohibit people from coming to those conclusions, especially fathers who leave or / abandon their families. It ain't always as simple as, come on back and make things right. There's a lot of things that we don't always understand. So I try to keep an open mind about some things because our perspective is our perspective, and you can try to operate out of that, or you can invite other perspectives in and kind of understand where people are coming from.
Yeah.
With your hero method, tell me how. Well, first, why did you develop the hero method, and did any aspect of that kind of speak to your need for legacy? Go ahead.
Yeah, 100% a legacy. For me, I want to leave a legacy that my father, that my kid's father, they see me that as somebody that showed up no matter what the chaos that I've gone through, the challenges that I've gone through, the heartbreak that I've gone through, all those things. I still went and went to battle for them and made sure I was present with them as best I can. Right. And that's I wanted to give them a life that was better than mine. That's the goal. I want them to be better than me as a man, as a person. And that's the goal. But the hero method, I developed it. One, my slogan is be the hero to your children's stories. Right. And I developed that because I saw a lot of fathers not showing up for their kids. I've heard a lot of fathers that just, they abandon their children. They don't show up. They don't know how to, they just think they're just eliminate it. And obviously part of that's my story, right? That's kind of been my story, but the hero method, I developed it because it helped me get through my own processes of my divorce that I was married for 10 years, had 3 kids with her, got into another relationship too quickly, right after the divorce, after the split, and ended up having another pregnancy with her. And it was a chaotic moment. So I had to heal myself. I wasn't healed jumping into that next relationship. I thought a relationship was going to heal my loneliness, right? I thought it was going to heal my past,
Not quite.
and that just didn't work that way, you know. And so I had to learn the hard way of, okay, I jumped into a relationship that's pretty much the same as what I had prior, you know, same type of person. It's the pattern. We work on patterns as people, as humans. We work on patterns. We have to fix our patterns. We have to fix ourselves and heal ourselves, right? So you have to heal from within. You have to just heal your past. That's part of the hero method. And then you have to establish structure and foundation. You have to establish a whole new structure that comes with getting clarity within yourself. That comes with establishing routines, habits, all these good positive things around yourself, and keep staying accountable to that, right? And then you have to rebuild your identity. You know, rebuilding your identity is the hardest part of anything, as you've probably talked about many times. Rebuilding your identity is where the work is actually starting, because you want to go back to the comfort of what you were before. And that's where a lot of men struggle is, oh, well, when it gets hard, I'm just going to go back and do the thing. You know, you break the chain, you break the cycle. But that's where, you know, accountability and brotherhood or coaching comes into play, is to get you over that hump, get you to that new level, to that new identity that you want to become, right? And that's the key, is if we want to become somebody new and better for our kids and ourselves, we have to have that person next to us that's been through that fire with it before, you know, and help, and so they can pull you through. So that's it. And then that's the rebuilding part. And then you have to own it. You just have to own it. You have to be the leader and own it, and you have to stay consistent with it. And that's how I developed it. And that's how I developed myself into becoming that man, that leader for my kids and my family through this process, and staying humble through it, right? Staying humble through the process, and knowing I'm not a perfect father. I'm not nearly a perfect father, but I try to be as present and consistent as possible, and be 1% better every day, man. That's the goal for my life. And I think that should be the goal for every father and every man's life. It's hard at the beginning, man. It's hard.
Yeah, this is probably all throughout, man, but that's just being transparent and honest, man. So thank you for sharing that.
You betcha, brother.
One final question, and then we'll go ahead and close the broadcast out for today. One thing that we talk about also in our men's content is the idea of the drift.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a breaking all at once, it's a drifting.
Yes.
What does community look like for you? You mentioned community earlier. What does that look like for you to have community?
Yeah, just talking different challenges that you're going through. I think every man needs a community to be around, be involved in, and get that perspective. You know, community is getting other perspective, getting real. It helps, because somebody could say something, some man can say something that they're going through and give you that perspective, and it changes your whole thought process, right? And that's what we're here to do, is it could change somebody's life by just expressing your pain and your struggles, and making them realize, hey, okay, maybe I'm not as bad as I thought, and this is something you can learn, right? Community is about learning and growing together. And I think it's so vital and important for us as men to be involved in different communities, different structures, to where we can grow together, because it doesn't take, you can't do it all by yourself, right? You have to do it with a team, with a group, learning from others. And for those men that are self-development, that want to grow, that want to get back on the horse and grow and be that person that does something productive and purposeful with their lives, that's how you have to join communities to be able to lift yourself up out of the depths that you are, because it's traumatic, man. Divorce is traumatic, separation is traumatic. You know, being alone by yourself sucks. It's hard, it's brutal, but that's where you grow as a person. That's the time to grow as a person, as a man.
Man. Coach, founder of Inspiring Father. You got your website on the screen for those that are listening but not watching us and going to catch on the replay. Is theinspiringfather.com. Pretty easy. Theinspiringfather.com. Coach and founder, Tyler McAdams. Thanks for being here, brother, and for sharing your story, man. Appreciate you so much, man.
No, I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
If you're watching for the very first time,
I can't hear you.
Technical issues. Apologize for those. That happens all the time. That's the life of a podcaster. But thanks for watching and listening. Have a fantastic day. This is the Men's Interview Spotlight. Have a good one.
Men's Roundtable Series, step inside. Real men, real faith, where the truths collide. Voices at the table where the stories get shared. Welcome to the Men's Roundtable, pull up a chair.